So hold one sec. All right, welcome to this member conference call on the MACH Alliance. Very happy to have you with us, Casper. It's all yours.
Thanks, Janus. Thanks for the opportunity, and good to see so many industry colleagues on this call. And I'm looking very much forward to just digging a bit deeper into MACH and also the MACH Alliance. Please do disturb me along the way. I'm more than happy to answer any type of questions you may have. And where I actually want to start is obviously with just a quick introduction of myself, and then I'll kind of jump into the agenda from there on. My name is Casper Rasmussen. I'm SVP of Technology here at Valtech, and I oversee the global practice around the composable enterprise and composable commerce, which obviously roots in the principles of MACH. I'm also sitting on the community board of the MACH Alliance, so I'm working with the membership organizations that are part of the Alliance in itself, so I also do have some inside views. What I understood from Janus is that you all got a at least brief introduction to the MACH Alliance from Sonia, which is of course, great fundamental knowledge to have. So hopefully I won't be too repetitive today. If I am, let me know. If you want to spin it another way, we can do that real time as well. I do not mind. What I want to do very first is to go into an example of MACH applied. Why does it actually matter? Because one of the big difficulties we see in the space is that MACH by nature is a set of technology acronyms that can be extremely difficult to explain. And in order to understand the opportunity the MACH Alliance, let's say, realizes, we need to understand why MACH matters. So first and foremost, I want to go in and explain why MACH matters to a particular business model around commerce, because that is the space that we all are talking about a lot. That is where the clients currently are interested. And it is also where the actual use case of MACH is most meaningful, at least currently. After that, I want to go in and talk about the actual MACH Alliance and what the MACH Alliance does to us as agencies and also clients. And that is where I really want to thank the MACH Alliance for what it actually contributes to or contributes within the industry of ours. So let's go in and talk about MACH applied. The place to start is actually quite fun, because this is not a pipe. It's a painting from 1929 by a surrealist painter called René Magritte. And literally, it describes the situation quite well. Not everything is what it's perceived to be. If we go in and look at what that means, it means that cars are not cars and stores are not stores. The entire ecosystem of commerce is constantly changing, and the role a particular touchpoint had yesterday may not be the role the touchpoint has tomorrow. It means the future of commerce needs to be extremely value-centric, and it needs to be service-oriented by design. It also means that it needs to be accessible, it needs to be personalized and relevant in order to drive that stronger emotional equity between brands and consumers. That's literally where the loyalty actually come up. We see that on the Valtech side with some of the work we're doing for the Volkswagen Group, some of the in-store work we're doing for Chanel by creating experience spaces. And some of the work we're doing for some of these brands is only possible with the use of MACH-type technology because of its diversity, because of its versatility, because of its agility, and so forth and so forth. We know how these types of patterns, how these types of technologies can really help solve for some of these incredibly unpredictable and fastly changing type challenges that exists within this type of commerce space. If we look at it from, let's say, a lens of the past, this is the first party commerce economy that I would say actually was status quo a few years ago. It's by nature extremely stable. It offers good quality at a fair price. It's predictable, it's self-contained, and it's first party driven. It means that everything stays within the same type of ecosystem. It's basically the value chain of product and logistics. It is not very flexible though, and especially as consumers' behaviors are starting to become unpredictable, this first-party commerce economy doesn't work. And in order to make it very tangible, a first-party commerce economy means that you, as a brand or as a retailer, own the entire journey of the customer. If we look at today's situation, it's a shared ecosystem. There are different actors that have different roles to each other and to the consumer. The model is much more flexible. It's way better suitable for services that include products. It has the consumer at the heart. But one of the things we really need to be aware of is how these roles are constantly changing, meaning who guessed the car would be your assistant? Who guessed your phone would be your wallet? Who guessed that your social media platforms would be the boutique or the window into your company? Who guessed that Klarna with a marketplace, with microfinancing actually ended up being a marketplace for product? None of those guesses were on any people's lips a few years ago, but look at it. Now it's the reality. These are the types of, let's say, situations that a MACH-enabled architecture can actually go in and solve. The fun thing is that the customer is still at the center, meaning the customer centricity aspect of commerce has not changed. It's simply the actors that are wearing different hats. And what hat one actor will wear tomorrow, nobody knows, because the unpredictability of this type of a commerce ecosystem is so high. So what we're saying at Valtech is that the future of commerce is extremely interconnected, it's flexible, and it's reactive at its core. The interconnected nature is because we as a retailer or as a brand need to provide products to Klarna. We need to sell it through their marketplace. My bank provides Klarna with my credit worthiness so I can buy the item and have it delivered by Uber on my phone. Like, imagine the complexity of that entire customer journey where you does not play the entire role of that entire, let's say, span of a journey, which is quite interesting. So the interconnected nature of this is incredibly complex. The flexible nature of it is that it needs to be pluggable and replaceable, meaning what works today may not work in 3 years or in 5 years. And that is really where the interchangeability and the composability of MACH comes in and becomes extremely strong. And also the reactive nature is we need to be able to navigate the chaos that we're kind of facing on an everyday basis, meaning the first-party company of the past that owned the entire customer journey, those companies are not in control anymore. And you're basically competing with digital native companies on making sure that your product comes to market, on making sure you have delivery that is comparable to what the gig economy is providing, and so forth and so forth. So the reactive nature of this, making sure you have the right tool for the job for today, is also extremely important. So when we look at what does this mean, it means that composable commerce has a place in this industry. Composable commerce is literally the type of solution that MACH allows for when MACH is used in the context of composable architectures. Composable commerce therefore consists of best-of-breed solutions. This is literally allowing the business to take the lead. So we need to go in and choose the right tool for the job. This is where the MACH Alliance, for instance, helps us understand what best-of-breed MACH-compatible options do we have for choosing the right type of technology for commerce, for personalization, for CMS, for vouchers and promotions, for identity management, and so forth and so forth. On the composability side, this is where we literally create scale, meaning composability is about creating the flexibility within our architecture to create this, let's call it ecosystem for the business to rely on. And the composability is what creates solutions from the tools, the individual choices that you're making from a stack standpoint. The composability aspect is something that the MACH Alliance is also evangelizing greatly, right? Because the composability of solutions is something that's quite new for customers to actually navigate. Before, in the past, it was turnkey. You bought a platform, it did all of the stuff you needed it to do, and then you started implementing on it. Here, there are a lot of decisions you need to make in order to make sure the composability of different best-of-breed solutions is the best for you. We also, with composable commerce, and because of MACH, and here I need to say thank you to whoever invented that acronym in the first place, we enable evolution over revolution. I'm sure you guys have seen how the MACH Alliance talks about this is going to be your last re-platform. It's because the notion of MACH, the composability of these types of solutions, allow you to do no harm. It means that you can do forever upgrades to your back office. You can do forever upgrades to your digital e-commerce engine without impacting your channels, and while you actually maintain your business continuity. So these cloud native solutions enable innovation, flexibility, and also opportunism with clients, while they also need to maintain business continuity, while they need to guarantee not doing harm. So the notion of bimodal thinking from Gartner, where mode 1 is about innovation and mode 2 is about maintaining predictability and business continuity, we can now finally do that because of the notion of composable commerce. Think about how and what type of competitive edge that actually gives companies and clients in a highly competitive commerce space. So again, I just want to really say composable commerce is the outcome of the principles of MACH when they're organized through composable architectures. And that's kind of how, let's say, the story fits. I hope now you understood why composable commerce and MACH in particular are extremely important to the industry that we actually live within and we do consulting within. And hopefully that also positions why the MACH Alliance actually plays a very, very important role, because what I've also expressed to you is that it's not simple. And that is really where the MACH Alliance come in and truly help us. So if we look a bit at the MACH Alliance, now we understand the importance of MACH, but for companies, MACH is extremely unknown, meaning there is no awareness to what this actually means. There is no understanding of what it takes. There is no textbook of how to do it or what to do. Also, there is a lack of understanding of what it actually does, meaning the notion of composable commerce, or how I just spoke about it, is, let's call it our attempt to actually make this a more business-centric type of a conversation, opposed to starting with technology acronyms that might not resonate with everybody. It's also something that's extremely complex because it's a multi-vendor play, meaning you are not just selecting a Salesforce or not just selecting an Optimizely type of solution, turning the key and putting your storefront on top of it. You are truly selecting a breadth of tools, best of breed solutions that suits your business the best. Then you compose those into a comprehensive solution that actually does what it's supposed to do for your customers, meaning this is truly a multi-vendor play. And you can imagine what that RFP, what that procurement cycle, what TCO and ROI type calculation looked like in that type of a setup. It's extremely difficult. Also, finally, it's very uncertain, meaning there is a lack of understanding for what the MACH type architectures have done for the e-commerce giants of the world, whether that's Zalando, whether it's Amazon, whether it's Walmart. All of those companies are running natively on these types of stacks. It's just not known. So this is also one of the responsibilities of the MACH Alliance. So thanks to the MACH Alliance, we now have awareness to some of these bits, meaning the uncertainty around are we the first ones is being squashed by the MACH Alliance. The uncertainty around how do you make the right types of choices as you're choosing your best of breed type technologies is made possible by the MACH Alliance. The uncertainty or the unknown nature of what MACH does and why we need to embrace it is made aware by the MACH Alliance. So the MACH Alliance is literally, think about it as being this community. It's this authority in the space that helps the industry, whether it's us on the agency side, whether it's clients, obviously on the commercial side, or whether it's just passionate individuals on the SME side, to come together and really help evangelize the importance of this movement. So what I would say is that the Alliance drives awareness amongst enterprises, meaning suited companies, to actually benefit from this type of an approach, and really anchors its value proposition around the flexibility and openness that this type of an architecture look like. The openness sits in your ability to actually outgrow it. Sometimes I describe it as being you build a house, but you have no ceiling, meaning you can actually outgrow and move upward as your digital maturity increases. The flexibility is your ability to actually navigate this type of a chaotic shared ecosystem type model that I went through before, where suddenly you need to interact with Klarna, suddenly gig economy becomes a part of your logistical delivery infrastructure, or suddenly you actually need to enable your car to become a part of the buying process. So these types of, let's say, qualities, flexibility, openness, is something that the MACH Alliance helps us coin and associate to the acronym of MACH. I also mentioned how the MACH Alliance eases the amount of research and diligence that's required from companies who are looking to enter composable commerce. So think about the situation of you running an RFP, and that RFP is being centric around wanting to establish a composable or microservice-oriented type architecture. But before you do that, you need to select 10 or 15 different tools for the job. That's a humongous exercise if you don't have an authority like the MACH Alliance, because the MACH Alliance helps clients, agencies understand what players in this space, meaning the entire space of SaaS, is actually compatible and, let's say, compliant with the principles around MACH, and which players can you actually trust also fit well into a composable architecture. Does it mean that it's only the players in the MACH Alliance that are valid? Absolutely not. We also ourselves look outside of that space, but it is a safe haven, if you can put it that way, for a choice that you're doing within the MACH Alliance, let's call it membership roster, is also certified SaaS solutions that actually fit into a composable type of an architecture. So it helps you make the right choices within that best of breed space. So instead of looking at 15 or 30 different commerce platforms, because again, they only do so much for you, you can actually narrow that scope down to 3 to 5, because that is kind of the starting point of the leading ones. And then finally, the MACH Alliance, from an agency standpoint, is also really a helpful connection within the industry, meaning they provide neutral ground for someone like myself to collaborate with the industry, to collaborate with my potential clients or the clients of my competitors in order to just evangelize, in order to just push the entire industry forward without there being a commercial reason of doing so. So it is really a good community amongst fellow passionate people that shares the passion of MACH and shares the passion of a composable future to actually help evangelize and just push for further awareness and help for push for broader applicability of these types of architectures and patterns. So I also and this is probably the one I appreciate the most as being a part of the agency world, is where can I actually participate, where my commercial interest does not go in and muddy the water, because the MACH Alliance is truly non-profit. It is truly neutral ground that has nothing to do with Valtech, that has lots to do with me and what I actually seek to do for the industry itself. So this was my, let's say, 15-20-minute overview of why does MACH matter, applied to commerce, and also a quick introduction of what the MACH Alliance does to us. Any thoughts, any questions, any reactions?
Great. Thank you very much. We heard recently in another call from Sonia at Content Stack that the MACH Alliance is not a marketing alliance. So it's not like a lead generation engine. And I think it was really interesting to get your agency perspective. So Content Stack is a vendor, and then hearing from an agency. You're saying that the awareness is still low, and so is the understanding. Have you started to get customers coming to you and asking for this, or is that still too
Absolutely.
early?
No, absolutely. We have a lot of, obviously, from a Valtech standpoint, we are a co-founder of the MACH Alliance, so we have an interest in the MACH Alliance per se, but we also have strategic alliances with some of the major players in the composable space. Mm-hmm. But yes, there is definitely traction from a client side in wanting to become more composable over time, or wanting to go head first into a more composable future. Like, we have clients that are looking to, let's say, move off their Oracle ATG stack that goes in and becomes a limitation more than an opportunity for them, and actually want to start to decompose it into a more composable type of a stack over time. We also have clients that are really investing in future fitting and honestly starting to greenfield, establish full-blown composable architectures as well, with some of these major players of the MACH Alliance sitting within them. So I would say the MACH Alliance has certainly helped with the awareness that they have created to date. The MACH Alliance also acts as an authority in the space for saying that this is valid, this is good. Some of the insights, some of the credentials they bring to the industry is extremely helpful for saying, me as a company, we are not the first ones trying to do this, because it can feel very uncertain, because it's extremely technology centric. And that's where I think the MACH Alliance really has helped as well.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, reflections? Kumar wrote here, your last free platform. I like that too. I took that down as well.
Kudos to you. I think this is genius. I've long been a fan of credentials first, technology second. So kudos to you for doing this. I'd love to learn more as you continue to develop where this is headed. I'd love to stay apprised.
Yeah, and I think we all have let's say, shared curiosity about where this is headed, because I don't remember, Simon, I think it was you that talked about W3C, something we take for given today, something everybody is taught in the academic systems across the world. Who says MACH is not going to be the next educational course at universities? Who says IEEE are not going to become a part of this, so we start to truly standardize the way to think about these architectures to get it in with almost the mother milk, right? When we actually start to generate the next, or when we start to create the next generation engineers. So it's quite interesting to see how, and again, I'm very biased because I'm very passionate about this, but how this potentially can be a real movement in the industry, because I do think it solves some of the fundamental problems that major clients, major companies has in this world about simply being locked in and simply being strapped in their current technical architectures. And this offers a ton of opportunity. Now it's just about continuing to harp on that and make sure the awareness is there, make sure we evangelize about the possibilities of it. And then I think it's our responsibility as experts in the space to give our clients a viable approach into it, meaning there needs to be business continuity, there needs to be some level of sanity in what it is we're proposing, and it can't just be all hopes and dreams as being the outcome of it, because it can feel extremely uncertain.
So next one up is Ria from Copenhagen area, not so far from you, actually a former colleague of yours, Casper, but that's for another time.
Yeah, it's good to see former colleagues presenting. I'm just curious about what is the answer or the reaction to this from Adobe, Salesforce, Sitecore that are working in the opposite direction, as I see it, still working in the opposite direction.
If you, and this can be a sensitive topic, so apologies if I'm stepping on any toes here. I think what you'll notice is that from a marketing standpoint, the word composable or composability is starting to make its way into the marketing material, which I don't necessarily think is fair. I also know that some of the major vendors are literally on the verge of, let's call it, overhauling their technology to take composability in as a core ingredient of how they do their architecture, meaning the notion of being composable but potentially also complete, meaning, okay, you follow the patterns of MACH, you enable all the qualities of composable commerce, but you also take all of the anxiety, you take all of the hard work out of making 15 choices. I think there is a path there that some of these major players are investigating in saying, create the composable DXP. I think that's a definite avenue for some of these companies in starting to componentize their own solution, do the necessary amount of decoupling, making sure that it's open and friendly to other types of technologies playing well alongside it, and so forth and so forth. But it requires major restructuring of how those architectures and platforms are developed today. If it ever makes it beyond marketing, I don't know, but it's pretty clear. If you read the marketing material around Adobe, around Optimizely and so forth, the word is starting to slip in there. That is pretty clear to me, at least.
All right, let's jump to Ivo in Zagreb, Croatia.
Hi, Casper, thanks for this update. I just want to comment that, as you said, the complexity of such solution, I'm not speaking about the alliance itself, but the solutions you are making in this way, the complexity is higher. I think the biggest challenge for these kind of projects and these kind of solutions is just lack of talent and experience and even pure resources, because you need more to invest in each project, just thinking about the architecture, choosing the right compositions or the components, and then compose it in a meaningful way. I think it's much easier sometimes just to take a solution that does everything. And I think that a lot of clients will not have the capacity to do that, and including all the agencies in the world. That's just my kind of view on that.
I think you're absolutely right. And we equally believe that this is a CEO level type of a conversation. And that's honestly why when we talk about it, we don't lead with the acronym of MACH, because that's something CTOs and technologists care about. It's been in our vocabulary for a while. but we go with the notion of composable commerce or the composable enterprise. What does it actually mean to the business, and what type of commitment does it bring? Because it goes in and impacts the way you organize yourself. It goes in and enables agility and cross-functional collaboration. Like, it goes in and removes a lot of the barriers of the past, but there is definitely some commitment behind actually allowing the organization to do that. And that's why the barrier of adoption can also be a bit higher, because it's not as simple as turning the key on a major stack and saying, this is now the MarTech tool of choice. There is a more groundbreaking, let's call it, change to the organization. And when you're on the other side of that, you start to actually become more competitive. So we also elevate the conversation just to different types of stakeholders than if we are to go in and talk about Salesforce or Sitecore or Adobe, because there is some fundamentals in the way the organization need to behave, the mindset they need to deploy, the way they need to organize themselves, that also must change alongside the actual ecosystem backing it up.
So we have 2 more minutes and 2 quick questions. Let's go to Canada first. Andrew Kumar.
Hey, yeah, I was just asking, do you need any help?
Quick question. Very good, Andrew. Well done. Andrew is with Contentful. You should connect.
Trust me, I know enough people at Contentful.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding.
And then we'll finish in Copenhagen, I think, with Adam.
Yeah, sure. But you actually almost addressed it at the very end there. I think the most heavy lifting here is all that cultural change that needs to happen, because in order to really appreciate a MACH universe, you need to be so rigid in your with your data that, you know, it's very few companies who are that rigid today. And when you have that in place, this landscape completely opens up, right?
Yeah.
But they're just not there.
And I think it's fair to say, and this is my personal opinion, and I would also say Valtech's opinion, that composable commerce is not for everybody. Trust me when I'm saying that. It's not something we're trying to throw down everybody's throat and say, you must do this. There are only like some types of clients, some types of businesses in this world that can actually get the juice out of the squeeze. So I think that's very important to say as well. And I also am a strong believer of there still being plenty of opportunity for the Salesforces, the Optimizely's, the Sitecores, the Adobes of the world. I'm an evangelist of that side of the technology spectrum as well. But on the flip side, I also believe that sometimes those types of solutions are not the right solutions, and you actually need to go towards these more composable type of architectures to really unlock that opportunity you're seeking. So I totally agree on some of the, let's say, the considerations that goes into actually picking a direction. And that is where we also help to some degree in just making sure those right choices are being made. And a lot of big companies are sitting literally at the verge of being, are we ready or are we not? Are we going to take that big step forward and actually make the commitment to what this means? Or should we take the safe path of going down the path we've been down before and potentially look at a re-platform in 5 years once again? Lots of companies still choose that.
Thank you very much, Casper. I really appreciate it. We made it right on time. Thank you for your time. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you, Casper, for preparing the slides and everything. Let's keep the conversation going. And last but not least, you can actually meet Casper in person in Aarhus in just 1 month. See you there and talk soon again.
Speak soon. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.